Welcome to the Aaron Harber Show, Your Decision 2018. This is part two of our special two-part series on political ads. Joining me, Steve Welchert. Great having you, Steve.
Hi, Aaron.
Zoe DeWolf.
Hi.
Krista Kafer. And Tom Tancredo.
How you doing, buddy?
Great having you all on the show. Okay, we're going to start off with Amendment 74, and we'll play an ad supporting the measure.
I've farmed in the Grand Valley nearly 50 years. People here are hardworking, and they manage their family property carefully. We need laws to ensure property rights are protected by the Constitution. This allows property owners to ask for compensation at fair market value when government action limits their rights. Government should not get a free pass to destroy the value of a family farm. It's only fair. Join me in supporting Amendment 74.
Oregon passed a law just like Amendment 74. Taxpayers were on the hook for $19.8 billion. Voters quickly learned their lesson and repealed it. But in Colorado, they're trying to make it permanent by putting it into our Constitution. Vote no on 74.
When you read the language of Amendment 74, it sounds harmless, right? But the cold, hard reality is this. How much would 74 cost Colorado taxpayers? It passed in Oregon, and special interests demanded $19.8 billion. When they realized how horrible it was, Oregon repealed it. Are we going to be fooled by the special interests? No, we're not. No on 74.
So, Steve, what's your take on those ads?
Well, the campaign on 74 is a total fraud in my view, and the ads rebutting them don't have nearly enough airtime. The 74 campaign really is just oil and gas revenge. If they lose 112, they want to have a way to come back and get their royalty rights for oil and gas mineral rights in the ground.
All right, well, you can't blame them.
No, you can't, but it's not true. I mean, our property rights are protected under the law now.
All right, well, I think one of the arguments there is that the little guy, if you have a regulatory taking, unless it's over 90%, you potentially could get nothing for the change in the value of your property. I think that resonates with a lot of Coloradans.
But the unintended consequence here is it's why every city and every county in the state is against this measure.
Oh, absolutely, absolutely.
I can see why people are concerned with 74, but I think the Pro 74 campaign has done a really good job, pretty sophisticated. They've been ramping up their efforts even long before 112 was dreamed up. This has been an issue that farmers and ranchers have been championing in Colorado for a while.
Krista, what's your take on it?
Well, I think the pro side did a better job with their commercials in that they're tapping into values of fairness. You have an authentic farmer, somebody that would be impacted if there was a takings against his private property. The con side, though, references money, and money doesn't really resonate with people. They need to make the case that this will actually hurt small towns and municipalities, that the unintended consequences affect people in a very real way.
Well, I think I thought it was effective to compare the measure that passed Measure 37 in Oregon, where $19.8 billion in claims were made under a similar legislation or similar bill.
Wonky, though, and not personal. I think they need to personalize it with, here's a municipality, here's how small their budget is, here's how a lawsuit would affect them.
Yeah, what's interesting, though, about Measure 37, two things. One is that the number of claims that were paid, $19.8 billion in claims were not paid. In fact, about 1% of those claims were actually paid. But then Oregon went on to pass Measure 49, which really repealed most of the effect of Measure 37. What's your take?
Typical problem when you're trying to put stuff into the Constitution of the state of Colorado and do it with 60-second spots or 30-second spots. It is, as we have already described, pretty complicated. And so nobody really knows what's going to happen. But when you say things like, well, it's, after all, my property rights are being taken, everybody goes, oh, well, yeah, sure, absolutely. And in reality, it's much more complicated than that. That's a problem with the way we deal with constitutional amendments. Doing them on 60-second commercials, forget about it.
And Zoe's right. The pro ads are much better, much slicker than the no ads. But the no ads focus on the 3 C's of defeating a ballot measure: cost, controversy, and Constitution.
Yeah.
And you put something in the Constitution, voters have a higher threshold now to really approve that. And in Colorado now it takes 55% of the vote.
The
All
one
right.
thing that complicates 74 is that the ballot question is so simple. It's actually one that we know that every person's going to read.
It's true.
Right.
Right.
It's like 10 words or something like that. All right, we're going to go switch over now to the Jason Crowe, Mike Coffman, Congressional District 6 campaign with a few of those ads. Of course, a lot of money being spent there. Hugely closely watched contest. Let's see what they have to say.
As parents, we felt helpless.
How could this happen? Angela might end up being deported.
They were going to deport our daughter. Then Mike Coffman called. He promised he'd fight for Angela, and he did.
They have decided to reverse their decision that she will become a U.S. citizen. Congressman Mike Coffman deserves a lot of credit here.
Mike kept our family together. We've seen the attacks on Mike, and that's not who he is. Mike fights for all of us, and we are proud to stand with him.
I'm Mike Coffman, and I approve this message.
Jason Crowe never misses a chance to demand extreme new gun control. And yet Jason Crowe's law firm was paid big dollars to lobby for gun manufacturers. Gun debate needs solutions and honesty, not hypocrisy.
Meet Jason Crowe, another all-talk, no-action politician. Crowe served on the Board of Veterans Affairs, where it was his job to advocate for veterans. Crowe failed. While veterans suffered because of mismanagement at the VA, Jason Crowe didn't show up for work, skipping a third of the board's meetings, neglecting veterans. Jason Crowe failed to do his job and turned his back on Colorado's veterans. Congressional Leadership Fund is responsible for the content of this advertising.
Okay, Tom, what's your take on those ads?
Well, the first one where he said, that's not who Mike Coffman is. Who in the hell is Mike Coffman? I mean, I don't know. Believe me, he took the seat that I had. The Mike Coffman that I knew at that point in time is certainly not the Mike Coffman that's there now. So there's no love lost here. Let me explain that on the front end.
I think that became obvious quite quickly.
Good. So I don't know. I mean, the attack ads, I think, are better when they come from somebody other than Mike Coffman on Crowe. So those other two, there's had other, I don't know, Marshall or whoever he was, and that's a lot better, much more convincing for me than if I had Coffman trying to convince me.
Okay, that was a pleasant surprise. Krista.
I loved the first commercial, and I think it really speaks to who Mike Coffman is, that he has really helped out the immigrant communities and refugees, and particularly in Aurora. His heart and soul is in that community. I think it's a beautiful commercial. The last commercial was just typical, nasty, negative, and very distortive. I mean, they're making a connection between the failed VA and someone missing meetings. Come on.
All right, Zoe, what was your take on those?
I'm going to focus on the first two ads. I loved both of them as positive ads. The first one gave me chills. They're certainly appealing to the demographic that they need to.
All right.
Yeah. The Coffman positive ads have been the best ads of this campaign cycle, in my view. They've done a great job for him. They're branching him out to a place where Tom's uncomfortable, but his voters are comfortable with, and it's working for him, I think.
You're saying best ads of the campaign for any candidate?
For any candidate in any race. I mean, the pro-Coffman ads are really great ads. I mean, we have a saying in the Democratic Party, Mike Coffman's never missed an Eritrean wedding or an Ethiopian funeral. I mean, the guy goes everywhere and sees everybody, and those ads kind of reflect that, I think, for Mike Coffman. Mm-hmm. The negative ad, boy, when you're the congressman, when the VA hospital is in your district for the last 10 years, it was the biggest boondoggle in American budget history. Pretty tough to throw a stone Jason Crowe's way.
All right, and we'll address that when we come back a little, because I think one of the really fascinating aspects is that last ad made it sound like this was Crowe's job. It actually was a volunteer position. There wasn't any evidence that something didn't happen because of him, and he certainly wasn't running the VA project, and he wasn't the congressperson in that district at the time. So, interesting way to kind of reverse what a lot of people.
I thought it was an anti-Coffman ad for a while.
All right, we're gonna take a break, and we'll be right back in just a moment.
For information on how to help promote civil and mutually respectful discourse and support expansion of the distribution of our programs, please email info@harbertv.com.
I'm Aaron Harber, host of The Aaron Harber Show. You can follow the show on Twitter for instant notification of new episodes, live event invitations, outtakes, and behind-the-scene photos. And tweet us your topic and guest suggestions today. I'm Aaron Harber, host of The Aaron Harber Show. I very much would like to hear from you about the program, so please send me an email with your thoughts. You can suggest what topics I should cover, what guests I should invite to be on the show, or even what specific questions you would like me to ask. This is your program, so send your suggestions to Aaron at harbertv.com. I promise to personally read every one, so email me today. And most of all, thanks for watching. I'm Aaron Harber, host of The Aaron Harber Show. Find us on Facebook to get all the latest updates, see behind-the-scene photos, and make comments and ask me questions. You can see episodes before their TV broadcast, so like the show today.
Join me and watch The Aaron Harber Show.
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 I'm Reverend Jesse Jackson. Watch The Aaron Harber Show and Keep Hope Alive.
The Aaron Harber Show may be viewed 24/7 at no charge from any location in the world at harbertv.com.
Welcome back to the show. Remember, this is part 2 of our special 2-part series on political ads. We're going to watch a couple of ads on the other side of the aisle in the 6th Congressional District next.
I'm Jason Crowe, and I approve this message.
Colorado media and veterans agree. Mike Coffman's false attacks on former Army Ranger Jason Crowe.
His politics at its worst.
To say he failed to advocate for veterans is simply false. Crowe is not only a combat veteran himself, he was awarded a Bronze Star for heroic service.
Mike Coffman, voting with Trump 96% of the time, now attacking a decorated veteran.
If this is the best they've got, shame on them.
The NRA has given Mike Coffman more money than any other Colorado member of Congress. Mike Coffman's NRA rating, A. Giffords PAC is responsible for the content of this advertising.
Okay, I was fascinated by both these ads, though for different reasons. And I'd really be interested in your take. One of the things that I am wondering about is the use of Sean Boyd of Channel 4. And I mean, it's almost like she's doing the ad, and I haven't asked Sean how she felt. But Krista, what's your take on these two?
You know, I thought that the first one was bad, the second one was despicable. The first one starts out okay. It's okay, obviously, to counter a claim, and I think the claim that he wasn't doing his job at the VA needed to be countered because it was false. Sean Boyd, I don't think appreciated being in the ad because I don't even think it was a Coffman ad, and it makes it sound like it was. I think it was a third-party ad. The second commercial is absolutely despicable, that you would tie in a murder at a school by hideous killer with Mike Coffman or even the NRA, who stands for law-abiding citizens and their right to own guns. It is despicable, and the family was right to call for its end initially.
All right, and it was changed because of that. Tom, what was your take on both of them?
Yeah, well, I've already indicated my feelings about Coffman, but I'll tell you that last ad was absolutely horrible. And I'm all, you know, I don't mind negative ads. I've certainly used them in my own campaign. I know that they work. That is over the top, and it overshadows everything else I saw there, to tell you the truth. I mean, the first one, competent, good, well put together. I could say, yeah, that's a good ad. That wasn't the second thing.
All right, Steve.
Well, look, the 6th CD is across the street from Columbine in the home of the Aurora Theater shooting. And I can tell you for a fact that the polling data reflects that voters are worried about guns as an issue. So the ad works. The ad with Sean Boyd.
The NRA ad works.
The NRA ad.
It was, and by the way, it wasn't the Coffman or the Crowe campaign. That was the Giffords PAC, Gabby Giffords, right. Who, of course, in Congress was shot.
And so the Sean Boyd ad, you know, when you do a fact check, we all love the fact check part of the campaign, but it only runs once or twice in a news segment, so not many people watch it. If you reproduce the fact check and make an ad out of it, it's much more effective. And it's been done both for Channel 4 and Channel 9 and Channel 7 people on those ads. It's just part of the game we're in today.
Well, it's interesting. I mean, we don't allow, because we want people to come on the show and know their footage is not going to be used in ads. So we don't allow anyone to use footage of candidates when they're on the show, and I would think that CBS 4 or other stations would put up more resistance. But I mean, that was more footage from CBS4 than I think I've ever seen in an ad, political ad. Zoe?
I think CBS4 has pulled some other ads that were used by the Republican Governors Association against Jared Polis because of the same issue. You know, Sean didn't approve that message. It was meant for news only, not for political gain. And I think it's pretty unfair to use that footage.
All right, we're going to jump to the Secretary of State's race. Ads we probably haven't seen much of. We're going to roll 2 ads real quickly and get a quick comment from all of you.
A voice can go unheard in a place like this. A family on food stamps. A daughter who started working in the 7th grade to help. I'm Jenna Griswold, and I kept on working my way through college. Sold my car for $400 to buy a plane ticket to go to law school. I became an attorney and protected our right to vote. Now I'm running for Secretary of State to fight corruption and special interests so every Colorado voice is heard.
I'm Secretary of State Wayne Williams. It has been an honor to serve you for the last 4 years. I'm dedicated to protecting your right to vote, and thanks to the safeguards we added under my watch, Colorado is a national model for election fairness and security. So in 2016, when Russian hackers tried to interfere with our elections, Colorado was ready. We totally blocked them from access and protected your vote. That's why Colorado is considered the safest state to cast a vote. We also made it easy to do business in Colorado. We streamlined the filing process, and I slashed fees.
Okay, 1 minute left in the segment. Quick comment, Steve.
The Griswold campaign had a really tough job to do. You're only going to run 1 ad in a down-ticket race like that. She had to tell her story and get a message across. They did both things competently. The Wayne Williams ad's clearly not on TV because it's 60 seconds in length, so it's only an online ad probably.
Right. Zoe.
Interesting point. I think the Jenna Griswold ad leaves you asking the question, what does the Secretary of State do? Whereas the Wayne Williams ad really targets that question and answers it, that he's done it and he's done it well.
Krista.
I think the Griswold ad is beautiful from a storytelling perspective, and the production values are nice. The second one, very substantive, but I don't think the production values were quite as good.
Yeah, in fact, I thought there was a nanosecond difference in terms of syncing the audio with the video. But it could be just, you know, I'm so ultra perceptive or sensitive.
First ad, very nice in terms of presentation. What the heck has it got to do with secretary? She's a nice lady. She had this laugh, and she worked hard. And what's that got to do with being Secretary of State? The other one, very specific, very, I think, to the point, and much better.
All right, we'll see what happens. We'll take our last break. We'll be right back in a moment.
For information on how to help promote civil and mutually respectful discourse and support expansion of the distribution of our programs, please email info@harbertv.com.
The Rex Howell Broadcaster of the Year Award recognizes an individual who, through leadership, skill, and dedication, is advancing the broadcast industry in our state and our nation. Tonight, we honor Aaron Harber. Aaron has worked extensively in the media as a host, producer, political and economic commentator, and columnist. Today, the Aaron Harber Show is the focus of his media involvement. Aaron, it is a privilege to present you with the Rex Howell Broadcaster of the Year Award. Congratulations.
Just make journalism great again. I'm Aaron Harber, host of The Aaron Harber Show. Find us on Facebook to get all the latest updates, see behind-the-scene photos, and make comments and ask me questions. You can see episodes before their TV broadcast, so like the show today.
Join me and watch The Aaron Harber Show.
Watch The Aaron Harber Show.
Watch The Aaron Harber Show.
Watch the Aaron Harper Show.
Watch The Aaron Harber Show.
I'm Reverend Jesse Jackson. Watch the Aaron Harber Show and Keep Hope Alive.
The Aaron Harber Show may be viewed 24/7 at no charge from any location in the world at harbertv.com.
Welcome back to the show. This is our final segment in our 2-part series on political ads. We're going to start off with some ads against Proposition 112, setbacks for oil and gas activity.
I'm Gary Arnold with Pipe Fitters Local 208. I'm a sixth-generation Coloradan, and I care deeply about our state. My job is to represent hardworking tradespeople and train young workers to learn this skilled craft. I keep people safe and productive. That's why I oppose Proposition 112. It's bad for our economy. It'll cost our friends and neighbors their jobs, and it doesn't improve safety. Please join us in defeating 112, keeping Colorado's workforce and economy healthy.
There are a lot of issues in this year's election, none more important to Colorado than setbacks.
Here's what you need to know. New drilling generates the highest severance taxes. So we would definitely see a big drop in revenue for things like schools, emergency services, and water projects right away. And over time, with little new drilling, an impact on jobs. The industry employs more than 200,000 people. Bottom line, Initiative 97 would have a clear economic impact.
Don't set Colorado back.
Okay, so we saw the first ad was "Don't Set Back Colorado." I'd like some quick comments on that, where it had the map and the circles filling in what setbacks. What was your take on that, Zoe?
I think especially for these types of issues, you want something that you can associate with, and there was nothing to identify with in the first commercial.
Yeah, I agree. I thought that was a really terrible ad, which surprised me. Krista, your take on the Gary Arnold ad, the second ad.
Second one, I thought the second one was nice. I mean, you see the impact on real working people. You've got an affable spokesman talking about the impact on him and others in the trade. I thought it put a human touch on it. That was quite good.
Yeah, I thought especially having everybody at the end, showing you such a range of diverse opponents. I thought that was very effective. Tom?
Well, that actually is an ad I've seen. and goes to show you how much they run it. And yeah, I think it was very effective. Getting a no vote is so much easier on all of these than a yes vote. You have to really convince somebody that kind of a change is necessary, and I think they've done a good job in saying, no, it's not.
All right, Steve, what do you think, especially those, give me a quick take on all three, especially the last one.
So the Gary Arnold ad, Democratic Union members, they also have a black minister ad that's similar to that. They and they're now running kind of teacher ads, I think ironically enough, for helping maybe Amendment 73 a little bit on funding education. So if 112 doesn't win overwhelmingly, it'd be a huge upset. Yeah. I mean, the no on 112 side.
Yeah. Right. I mean, if 112 isn't defeated, roughly $40 to $50 million is being spent. Incredible more buys on TV than any campaign in the history of Colorado, more money being spent than any campaign in the history of Colorado. Yet in the polls, it's close. Does that surprise you, Steve?
I don't believe it, by the way. I think it's going to be a huge blowout.
All right. I'll bet you're wrong. Milkshake and lunch. All the hamburgers you and I can eat, which that's a lot of cheeseburgers. That's a lot. Okay, we're going to look at some of the yes ads, but the yes side doesn't have any money. I don't think they're on TV. So we're going to play some parts of some of their online ads just to be fair.
Last night, the fire sparked and it caused a blast that shook homes. Some residents hid under their beds.
The source of that spiking sound meter sits right outside the Taskies' back window.
Whoa. And all of a sudden, kaboom, the whole house shook.
Investigators showed that the gas had bled off the wellhead and erupted into a sudden and violent explosion, taking the lives of Joey Irwin and Mark Martinez.
My phone rings, and it's my mom. She's, frantic. She's like, oh my God, Aaron's house blew up. Aaron's okay, but they can't find Mark. The first thing I seen was my brother's truck, and right then I knew.
This has to just be an impossible night for the families of two men killed in a Weld County house explosion.
Mark Martinez and Joey Irwin lost their lives in a devastating fire.
A gas line was leaking flammable gas into the soil.
I had to tell my mom that it's Joey too. So I was the first one in the world to know my brother was dead, I was really close to it, and I'm sorry. I was hoping it would wake up Colorado a little bit. It started with greed, and it still is greed, and if we don't do something about this, it's going to happen again.
What if you could stop the next fracking tragedy before it happened? Whoa! Or stop the next toxic spill before it got into your water? Or block the air pollution before your child got asthma or cancer?
Okay, those are the ads in favor of 112, which are not getting any TV airplay. What was your take on the three?
Well, if those ads were able to be on broadcast television, they would be very powerful ads. This would be a very different campaign.
All right, Zoe?
I completely agree. If those were able to be on TV, if they had the resources to put those out, this would be a really tight race.
All right, and Krista, any one of those appeal to you, or all three did not?
As fear-based ads, I think they were exceptionally done in terms of production value. They really do evoke fear by using a single tragedy to make people think that this happens all the time, everywhere. And the footage with the sink fire, that has absolutely nothing to do with fracking. And so it's disingenuous, but would voters know the difference? I don't know.
Disingenuous or dishonest?
Let's go with dishonest.
I think that's more accurate.
Yeah, I do too. And it goes back to what we were talking about earlier in terms of you can say anything you want anymore. You know, you don't have to prove anything. You can say your kid's getting cancer because you live next to a fracking facility or something, or asthma. None of that is actually proven, and yet you say it as if, oh yeah, everybody knows that, right?
And similar to the Giffords ad, this exploits one very, very major tragedy for political gain. I don't necessarily know if that's fair.
I will say they have an awful lot more earthquakes in Oklahoma than they used to have, and so there's some kind of cognitive comparison there.
Those are injection wells.
Right, okay, so Oklahoma's had hundreds of earthquakes, but it's not due to the drilling for oil and gas, it's due to the injection of wastewater. And if you do it at too high a pressure or in the wrong location, you get that. But that's an example of the industry being, certain actors in the industry being irresponsible and creating a problem for communities and the entire industry by not disposing of those products in an appropriate manner. Okay, we have only a minute left. Quick last question. If you're a candidate, how do you defend yourself against negative ads? Steve, quick answer.
Oh boy, you have to counterpunch. That's my sense. You can't get into a knife fight without having a gun.
So do you answer the specifics of the ad, or you go after your opponent, or both?
It really kind of depends. That's why guys in my business make a living, because you have to decide which is the right answer today. You know, John Kerry doesn't respond to his attack on being swift-boated, and it cost him the presidency. You have to know whether to respond or not on each particular item.
Zoe, what's your thought?
I think the first thing you need to do is know what your opponents are going to say about you. I think the Coffman campaign does a good job of that, and they own it. And so before any negative ads come out, they've inoculated against those criticisms. So those are the first things that I would do.
Krista?
I would respond, make sure that you knock down the false allegation, and then pivot to your positive message.
And we've seen a lot of that. Tom, you've had this experience firsthand.
What should a person do? Not run. It is imperative, if you have the money, to actually get out there first to tell people who you are. Convince them of the fact that you're a nice guy or a nice gal. Then it's much more difficult for those negative ads to work. But if the other side owns the media, they will create whatever they want, and there's absolutely no way for you to get around it if you're the underspender.
All right, the truth is the first casualty of politics. I just made that up. All right, Steve Welcher, Zoe DeWolf, Krista Kafer, Tom Tancredo, thank you all very much. I'm Aaron Harber. Thanks for watching. We'll see you next time.
Please contact us. We want to hear from you. And thanks for watching.
I'm Aaron Harber, host of The Aaron Harber Show. You can follow the show on Twitter for instant notification of new episodes, live event invitations, outtakes, and behind-the-scene photos. And tweet us your topic and guest suggestions today.